So you probably clicked on this video thinking that I am going to rank all of the swappers from Skylander Swap Force from worst to best. Technically you are right, but this ranking video is nothing like what you're used to seeing. Normally videos that are named worst to best actually turn out to be least favorite to most favorite. So I was thinking, how can I eliminate as much biased opinion as I can? And that has brought us here today. Okay, now that we're in game, it is time to explain how this video will go and how the rankings will be determined. So basically, I will place all swappers in game and review and rate every one of their upgrades out of 5. After that, they will end up with a final score. That score will determine where they will place in the ranking alongside their fellow swappers at the end of the video. Higher scores are better and will rank higher upon the lower scores. Keep in mind, this is 100% my biased opinion based on my playstyle. But to show how much of my opinions were blocked by this new ranking style, I will be comparing the final results to my personal ranking of the swappers ranked from least favorite to favorite at the end of the video. Now that I've explained how this video will work, let's get into ranking some upgrades.
Keeping it cool.
Okay, so our first swapper today is Freeze Blade, so we're going to go straight to the abilities as he cuts me off. Alright, his top. His Chakram Throw. This one gets a 5 out of 5 for me. It is very fast and very powerful. Next up you have the Frost Sickle. It is a shard of ice that can freeze enemies. Another 5 out of 5. There's no recharge, it does good damage, and it's great with a Chakram when you can freeze them and then go up to hit them. Next up is Icicles, which just makes you do more damage. Just a heads up, all abilities that improve stats will get an instant 5 out of 5 because they don't add anything to the character other than stats. But with Soul Gems, it's a little different. You will see in the future. Alright, next up we have Frigid Whirl, where you charge this for a short time. It only lasts about 3 seconds, so it is a 4 out of 5 for me. It only adds up to about 36 damage, which is less damage than what you could do with just using your main attack. Now for the top path, we have Shaved Ice. This one's a 4 out of 5. It does low damage, but it's good for crowds of enemies. Next up, we have Whiteout. Just adds damage, so 5 out of 5. Next up, we're going to journey to the bottom path. We got Oh Snow. This one's a 4 out of 5. It is very effective to freeze a large area, but it's lower damage than the main attack and the same as not charging it, so I don't see a point when you have a fast Skylander like that. Next, we have Ice to Meet You. This one just adds damage, instant 5 out of 5. Now for his first half of his Soul Gem, we have the Winter Chakram. This one increases crit and extra frost damage, so it's an absolute 5 out of 5 without a doubt. Now we're going to move to the bottom half, and we're just going to speed through all the characters just like this. So, Speedy Skate. It's probably one of my favorite dash moves in the game. It is very effective. It's a 5 out of 5. It probably is the best speed move in any of the games. Next up we have Ice Trail. This slows enemies and can be difficult to use since it's behind him, so it doesn't get a 4 out of 5. It can be very difficult to get the enemies to go into it if they're not in a large group. Next up we got Glacial Coat. This one is an armor increase, so instant 5 out of 5. Next up we have Bladed Butterfly. Now this is the one I have an issue with. It is a 1 out of 5 for me. Like, listen, it's cool and all, but it doesn't flow with the rest of his moves. It does good damage, but it's still less than his main attack, and it's not worth ending your Speedy Skate for. So for his top upgrade path, oh, that one got a 1 out of 5, by the way. So for his top upgrade path, Flash Freeze. This one's a 3 out of 5. It's effective, but it does low damage. Next up, you just add damage to that. So 5 out of 5, just add some damage. Now, Penalty Frost for the bottom path, we have a 3 out of 5. For a Skylander that has mostly close range attacks, it doesn't make sense for to knock them away just for a little explosion. I don't get this, but I mean, it's good though. Next up we have Ice Skates. It just does more damage, which is fantastic. Now for the last part of his Soul Gem, you do get increased damage and you don't stop when you're attacked. So that is a 5 out of 5 without a doubt. Now, Freeze Blade. There was 90 available points and he started off strong for this swapper little ranking video. He gets an 81 out of 90. You will see how that places at the end of the video.
It's classified.
Now next up we do have
You know,
Spy Rise.
this is classified information.
I need to stop talking right there because they always cut me off. Anyways, first up, 5 out of 5, the Spider Blaster. This one shoots 3 projectiles that slow enemies. It does great damage. It's literally one of the best like initial first moves that you get. It is amazing. Next up we have the Super Spy Scanner S3. This is pretty much like a sniper. It's a 4 out of 5. It's a really fun move. It takes a while to charge, but it's mostly worth it because it does increase damage to locked on enemies. Spider Sting. This is one of my favorite little creative moves he has, and he has so many. This one is a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love it. It's an insta-kill at the end of like when they have limited health, and you heal yourself. So that's fantastic. Next up we have Future Tech. Adds damage for the scanner and the blaster, so it's a 5 out of 5. Now for the top path, we do have the Cocoon Spinner. This one's a 5 out of 5. It's one of the most overpowered attacks ever. Enemies get so slow that they barely move and just take tons of damage. And Experimental Webs just adds damage, so that's a 5 out of 5 as well. Next, for the bottom path, we do have Electro Web Pulse Bomb. It took me forever to try to say that correctly. Anyways, you get to hold it and throw a web bomb. It's honestly not great. It's a 2 out of 5. It does the same effects as his main attack, so it's overall pretty useless, and I don't know why you would charge it up. I didn't have fun testing these all out and then switching them all back. But the next one is Improved EPB, whatever that is. Electro Web Pulse Bomb. Duh. Anyways, increased damage, 5 out of 5 without a doubt. Now this one is a 5 out of 5. The first half of his Soul Gem, Spy with a Golden Hand. You shoot 5 projectiles at once. Yes, 5. Literally, you cover the whole map in front of you. It is just fantastic. Now we will journey to his bottom half. Spider Climb. This one, it's a 3 out of 5. It's no good right now. It's good to escape for a minute and do a little bit damage when you come back down, but overall I don't use it much. I use it when it has further upgrades. Next up we have the Spider Mine. This one's a 2 out of 5. I totally forgot this ability even existed. I totally just, brushed it under the rug. I didn't even know it was there. It doesn't upgrade anything or make anything about him better. It just drops one small bot that does about 15 damage if you're lucky. And now you drop down 2 bots. So okay, you had a 2 out of 5 out of that last ability, and you get a 3 out of 5 for this one. I'll give him an extra one. Now we have Rapid Laser Legs. This one is a 4 out of 5. This one finally makes the Spider Climb useful. It's low damage, but can be difficult to use, but it's useful when you go with the bottom upgrade path. As I say that, let's go to the top upgrade path. We have the Foot Mounted Flame. This one's a 5 out of 5. It is great for continuous good damage, and if enemies get too close, you can simply just go up in the air and slam back down. And the next ability, Blue Flame, just does more damage, so that one is a 5 out of 5. Now we journey to the bottom path. We have the Pulse Cannon, which it's a 4 out of 5. It's good. It does a lot of damage, but it's only one hit. Next up, we have the Advanced Pulse Cannon, which just adds damage. So it's fantastic. So that's a 5 out of 5. And for the last part of his Soul Gem, you have the Omega Sky Laser. Okay, this one shoots a continuous laser beam down that does okay damage, but adds up over time. It lasts about 4 seconds, but the good thing about it is if you don't take out the enemies, it stuns them, which is fantastic, so it's a 5 out of 5, leaving Spy Rise with a final score of a surprisingly disappointing 77 out of 90. Now we do have Stink Bomb.
I wonder how I rank.
Alright, so for his first move, it is the Skunk Fu Stars. Now this one is a 4 out of 5. They do good damage and they're decently quick, but it always feels like he should be throwing more, or maybe like throwing them from both hands. It kind of just looks awkward. He just throws them from his hip with one hand, but or paws or whatever skunks have, I guess. All right, next up we have the 1-inch palm. This one just delivers a powerful palm attack. This one's a 5 out of 5. I know a lot of people don't like it and don't use it, but even though his attack looks and feels janky in the game, it feels really, I don't know, like rigid. It's super effective with great damage, a huge knockback, and even does damage over time. Next up we have the Noxious Ninja. 5 out of 5, just adds damage. Alright, for this one's a 4 out of 5. The Sweeping Skunk Fu. You get to charge them and release in all directions. Personally, I found it very inaccurate because it goes like front, left, right, back, which 90% of the time you want to aim in like angles. That doesn't work. They do pretty good damage and they have a short charge up, so I really can't complain too much though. Top upgrade path. We have Skunk Fu Shield. This one's a 3 out of 5. It's good for defensive playstyles, but doesn't bring anything really useful to his gameplay. It's kind of just like a sit back and wait kind of move until it becomes useful. Next up, the shield does more damage. So that's 5 out of 5. Bottom path upgrades. We have the Acorn Accuracy. This one's a 4 out of 5. I was struggling between a 3 and a 4. It has a very slow charge up time, leaving you very vulnerable. But it does great damage and adds damage over time along with a knockback. I love this move, even for someone who likes fast Skylanders. It's a slow move, but I enjoy it. So 4 out of 5 for that. Next up, we move to the Skunk Eye. This one just adds damage, so this one's a 5 out of 5. And lastly, for his top half of his for his soul gem, you have Master Star Technique. This one's a 4 out of 5. Literally just adds crit for a soul gem. A soul gem, which you have to go find, and it only gives you critical hit. See, that's where I told you guys at the beginning that all stat upgrades that benefit you will get a 5 out of 5 other than soul gems, because I feel like soul gems are more valuable and should be better than just adding crit. So let's move on to his bottom half. Maybe we'll get a better soul gem down here. All right, Skunk Cloud. This one's a 5 out of 5. It's good for avoiding combat while doing damage and leaves a little, cloud behind. That one's a 5 out of 5. Hidden Tail. This one's a 3 out of 5. It's pretty good damage, but it ends your Skunk Cloud, and it can't be used over and over again. It has a very long charge rate, in between uses. This one upgrades your speeds, sporting stripes, so that's a 5 out of 5. Next up, we got Skunking Around. This one's a 3 out of 5. It's fine for small enemies and bosses for continuous damage, but it doesn't do much, only averaging about 8 damage every second, and it lasts for 5 seconds, so it adds up, but that's if the enemies don't just move out of the way. So now for his top upgrades, you have Rolling Fog. This one's a 3 out of 5 for me. Now have 2 clouds that affect a larger area and do damage to pretty much any enemy on the screen. It's pretty cool. Next up, we have Cloudy Concoction. This one just adds damage, so it is a 5 out of 5. Now we move to the bottom path, which I have no idea why I switched back to this path. I do not like this path, but it's freaking effective. Sneaky Tactics. It is a 3 out of 5. Besides the fact that you have to walk to use them, they're pretty effective. They slow enemies really well, and they're really good at providing protection. It's best used when you're charging up your charge up of your main attack, because then he walks no matter what, dropping these behind. So that gets a 3 out of 5, and a damage increase, so 5 out of 5. Now, Stealth Skunk, his other half of his soul gem, which is fantastic. I cannot just say that enough. It is a 5 out of 5. You stay invisible while you can attack enemies. You don't stay invisible forever, but when you are invisible, and it lasts a pretty little while, when you are invisible, you're able to attack and do whatever you want, and it's fantastic. Leaving Stink Bomb, forgot his name for a second, with a final score of 76 out of 90.
Hide and sleek.
So now we have Trap Shadow. Trap Shadow is someone I've never really liked, but I've dove into his upgrades, and he's actually had some nice upgrades. So starting off with the Clawing Shadow, this one is a 5 out of 5. It is very quick and very powerful. Next up, you have these snap traps, which is probably one of the best traps slash minions in the entire game. Sad thing is you can only have one at a time. Next up, we have sharp magic, which increases damage, so it is a 4 out of 5. Catch here, I don't get this move. It is a 2 out of 5. I never use it, and I just feel it's pointless when your traps kind of auto attack anyways. They have a mind of their own. They can just go towards the enemies. Why do I have to throw it at them? Now we move on to the top upgrade path. We have me, ouch. I feel so weird that I just said that. 5 out of 5, super fast, great damage, and it's even better than Free Ranger's charged attack. Next we have the Nocturnal Predator, just adds damage, 5 out of 5. Bottom path, Gloom and Boom. Traps will explode, which is, it's good. It's a very good explosion, but you can still only have one at a time, which kind of sucks. Make it snappy. Now you just do more damage with your traps. So that's fantastic. 5 out of 5. So for his first half of his soul gem, 5 out of 5 without a doubt. You have the Shadow Striker. It is super fast, great damage, and can be used over and over with no recharge. So now time for the bottom half. We have the Shadow Kick. This one's a 4 out of 5. Very limited range, but great damage and could be used over and over. Initially, before this video, I did not think you could use it over and over again. I thought there was a little load time, but there's actually not. You can use it pretty quick. Next, we have Prowl. Prowl is a 2 out of 5. Being stealthy is cool, but not being able to attack is not. And that's exactly what happens here. You literally just prowl, touch enemies, and that's that. But you can't really attack, which kind of sucks. Next, we have 9 lives, which is a 5 out of 5. You get some extra health. Next, we have Out of the Shadows. This is the explosion after the prowl. So it's like a 2 out of 5. It's one hit of okay average damage, but the damage of the kick does more. If not, like the same exact damage. So what is the point of this explosion when I could just kick? So we talking about kicks, top path. We have dark magic. Now the shadow kick travels farther. So this one's a 4 out of 5. It gave it a little bit more range, but overall keeping it the same. But Black Cat here adds more damage. So that is a 5 out of 5. Damage boost to all shadow wave attacks. Bottom path. Shade Steps. This one is a 3 out of 5. You make like small little mines, like they get left behind that do okay damage. Like overall, in my playstyle, never ever ever gets used, and I think the upgrade itself is kind of meh. It just adds little mines. That's it. And then you do more damage with this one. Also, this was a This was a 3 out of 5, and this one's a 5 out of 5. This one just adds damage. So for the next half of his soul gem, it's a 4 out of 5, honestly. You get to become invisible, but it's very limited time. It goes by so fast. Like, it doesn't give you a whole bunch of time to actually do anything, which kind of stinks. So it is a 4 out of 5. It's useful, don't get me wrong, but it's meh. It could be a lot better. So Trap Shadow with a final score of 74 out of 90, scoring last out of the last 3 people we've done.
If there's a drill, there's a way.
Now we have Gorilla Drilla, which is notorious my least favorite Skylander. But let's see how his upgrades actually are. I was curious myself. Alright, so we have Punchy Monkey at first. This one's a 3 out of 5. It actually does really good damage, but it's very close range, removing those 2 points that it would have gotten if the punch just went a little bit farther. Next up we have the Monkey Call. This one's a 4 out of 5. You get 2 monkeys that do good damage, and they last a little while. I wish they'd last a little longer because they do really good damage. Next up we get Silverback. This one is a 5 out of 5. It is a damage increase to all your punches. Now we have Reaching Mandrill. Your punches have a longer range, which is a 5 out of 5 because that's exactly what he needed. Now for the top path, we have Team Monkey. This one gets a 4 out of 5. Now you have 4 monkeys that do really good damage, but they just don't last, and it drives me nuts because they're so good and so fun. Next up, we have King of the Jungle. This one's a 5 out of 5. You just increase your damage of your monkeys. Bottom path. All right, this is where we have issues. The double punch. It is a 2 out of 5. It does fantastic damage, but you cannot move and you're left super vulnerable, and I can't stand it when abilities do that to me. But the next one just increases damage. So this one 2 out of 5, next one 5 out of 5. Now for the soul gem, your arm drills become a shiny gold. We're making punches do extra damage, so pretty much just extra damage. 5 out of 5 without a doubt. So bottom. Now this is where I can't stand this guy. You have the planted turret. This one is a 1 out of 5. It is probably the lowest damaging turret / minion that you can have, and you can only have one of them. It is pathetic to even try to put this thing on. Next, we have the explosive growth. Now you get to hold it to make a turret. It's a 3 out of 5. You can only have one active, but it does good damage, so it's all right. Next up, you got spreading like weeds. You get to have your bombs explode into 3 smaller bombs, which is actually really useful, and I forgot it existed. But it is a 4 out of 5. They don't do a ton of damage when they split off, but useful to a large area of enemies. Next up, we have Nature's Bounty. All right, this one gets a 3 out of 5. It's 2 turrets that do low damage. Am I supposed to be excited about this? These things are so pathetic. It's not even funny. Next, for the top path, we have This is Coconuts. This one's a 3 out of 5. You do bigger damage to a small area with your turrets. And the next one increases the damage. So you got 3 out of 5 and you got 5 out of 5. Then for this one, you have Banana Split. Now you shoot bananas that shoot really fast, but they don't do a ton of damage. So it's a 3 out of 5. Next up, you have Go Bananas. I don't know why I haven't bought this, but it just increases damage anyways. This one's a 5 out of 5. Now you have Adaptive Nature for his soul gem. This one's a 4 out of 5. Turrets now get like a little shield that push back, but it's really low damage, so it really doesn't affect the gameplay a whole bunch. Not when you're running around. So overall, ending Gorilla Drilla with a final score of 71 out of 90.
Roll with the punches.
Now we do have
Could be a contender.
Night Shift. Yeah, Night Shift is a very fun Skylander, so I'm excited to get into this one. First, you have the 1-2 punch, which is one of my favorite main attacks. It's just fun to just punch enemies around. It's very fast and very powerful. 5 out of 5. Don't worry, I have bought these all before. My legendary is the one I messed around with, I mean. So the Vampire's Bite here. This one does good damage. It does actually really good damage, almost great damage. This is a 4 out of 5. It heals you, but not for much. It can be used over and over, though, with a very small recharge. Next, we have Sting Like a Bat. This one's 5 out of 5, just adds damage to your punches. Now we have Don't Move, Just Stick. This one's a 5 out of 5. This one has the longest charge time ever. But trust me, it is worth it. It is so much fun to deal this much damage. Now, for the top upgrades, we have the Infectious Smile, which your Vampire Bites deal damage over time to its targets. So it's a 4 out of 5. You don't heal yourself anymore, though, so it's kind of meh. You just based on damage. And saying that, the next one is do more damage and extra healing. So this one is a 5 out of 5, and this one's a 4 out of 5. So now we journey down to the bottom path. And we get Prize Fighter. This one's a cool idea if you get more than 10 gold. If it gave me like 100 gold, it would be fine. But it doesn't. It gives me like 10. What is that going to do for me? 2 out of 5. Give me more money. Next up, you got Payday. BS. I call it right now because this is a 2 out of 5 just like its previous. It gives a little bit more money from charged punches, but it's still very little and not impressive at all. Next, for his first half of his soul gem, we have increased damage at full health. So it's a 4 out of 5. If you're not at full health, you don't get to use it. Woo! I would have rather just had increased damage. That would have been fine. But I guess it works with since he's a vampire. Now for his bottom, we have 5 out of 5. This is great for avoiding attacks and moving quickly through the levels. Love this move. And it's great in PvP as well. Next we have Float Like a Vampire. This one's a 4 out of 5. It's a good damaging projectile that hits multiple enemies, but minus 1 point. Very hard to aim, so 4 out of 5. Now we have Foggy Movement. Your speed is increased, 5 out of 5. And a Batty Coach. Literally an extra life. So this is a 5 out of 5. That's super cool. And I don't think any other Skylander has that ability to revive. Oh wait, no. Double Dare Trigger Happy does. But I don't know if anybody else does. So let me know. Next we have the top upgrade path. We have the Vortex of Doom. This one is a 4 out of 5. The Vortex pulls in enemies, but doesn't damage them. So I don't get the point. It's great for crowd control though, with areas or just large amounts of enemies. But I just wished it damaged, and saying that, now it deals damage. So 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, but wait, nope, scratch that. This is a 4 out of 5, and I remember why now. It does good damage, but only for like 2 seconds. If it did more damage for longer, it would be a 5 out of 5, but it'll only last like 2 seconds. It's very pathetic. Now for the bottom. Now you get a health boost when you return, so this is a 4 out of 5. It rarely gets used, but it's a 4 out of 5. Now we have the Luck of the Underbat. Now you get to be revived twice, so that's cool. 5 out of 5. You get 3 lives in total, so that's like unbeatable. Now we have his last half of his soul gem. You get to slow down nearby enemies when appearing after the teleport, which just makes you seem really, really fast. So this is a 4 out of 5. But it doesn't last long at all, which is literally the definition of his whole entire movesets. I feel like nothing lasts, but it's good while it lasted. So it is a 4 out of 5, leaving Night Shift with a final score of 76 out of 90.
Up track to attack.
Now we do have Magna Charge, a fan favorite across the community.
I am superior in all areas, not surprisingly.
Now first up we have his Magnet Cannon. This one's a 4 out of 5. It's super fast, high damage, but it's annoying with the overheat. Next we have the Polarized Pickup. This one's a 4 out of 5. You pick enemies up, you throw them down for good damage. Now we have Plasma Shots. Now your cannon does increased fire damage when it heats up, but that's when it heats up. Emphasis on the when. Alright, next we have Magnetic Buildup. This one's a 3 out of 5, honestly. This one's slow recharge and okay damage. Okay, now here for the top upgrade path, we have the Discharge Recharge. This one's a 3 out of 5. There's a long wait and disappointing damage, honestly. I feel like the rocket should do so much more, but here you go. You get some more damage. So 3 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Let's journey to the bottom path. We got the Burst Pickup. This one's a 4 out of 5. It's actually really helpful, but no damage increase. But I do enjoy knocking back the other enemies and then using my main attack again. So it's very useful. But you get to add in some more damage right here. So 5 out of 5 right here and 4 out of 5 right here. And then you get a 5 out of 5 with the soul gem right here. You get to shoot 3 instead of 1, but only 1 of these if you have this upgrade. So don't think you're going to shoot 3 rockets, because you're only going to shoot 1 out the middle. Now for the bottom, we have the Magneto Ball. I don't know what you want to call it. I'm going to mess up a lot of these words, but this one's super fast and super fun, so 5 out of 5. Now you have Eject, also 5 out of 5. Great for crowd control and damage. And then we move on to Rad Wheels here. Another 5 out of 5. We are on a 5 out of 5 train. This one just adds speed, which is fantastic. Drag capacity. Now 2 enemies can be dragged, so this is a 5 out of 5. I love this move right here, and also throwing them is a lot of fun. Now we'll journey to the top path right here. We have the Shock Stop. This one's a 4 out of 5. This is good for a single enemy, not for a group. But it's good for a single enemy. So 4 out of 5, and then we move on to a 5 out of 5. You just add some damage. If you guys haven't noticed, there's a trend that all of the second upgrades are based just adding stats. They're not all like that, but I'd say 98% of them are. Now for the bottom path, you get Rapid Repel. This one's a 5 out of 5. You get short dragged enemies without stopping for good damage. You could just take them wherever you want. It's just you're taking them on a journey. Alright, now we get Opposites Repel. Now you get to do increased damage, 5 out of 5. You get back-to-back 5 out of 5s right here. Fantastic. Next for the last part of his soul gem is Super Repulsor. Now, this one is a new wheel that makes thrown objects gain increased damage, range, and speed. So this one's a 5 out of 5. It literally affects like the 3 main stats that you want it to. So that's great. Leaving Magna Charge with a impressive final score of 81 out of 90. Now it is time for Fire Kraken. I tell you what, I have a love-hate relationship with this guy.
The candle at both ends.
I think he's awesome, but I struggle to use him. So let's take a look at his upgrades individually. First up, you have Sparkling Strikes. This is good. It's very quick, but it's very close range, which kind of stinks. Next up, we have the Dragon Parade, which is a 3 out of 5. It barely does damage. You're lucky if it hits 3 times. Like, twice is iffy. But it's good for like a group of enemies to knock them back, but overall, not a ton of damage. It's more of a knockback move. Next up, we have Glow Stick, which adds damage to your main attack, so 5 out of 5. Then we have Rising Fountain. Now, this one's a 4 out of 5. This only hits enemies really, really close by, but it does great damage and pops them up. Pop-ups aren't as good as knockbacks, so it's like a minor version. So they don't get knocked back, but they do like have the same result of like falling on their back, but they don't go anywhere. All right, for the top upgrade path, we have the Rising Charge. This one, new staff causes an explosion. This one's a 3 out of 5. You're sure your next hit does double damage, but it's only once, and you honestly forget it's there. You just see like a double damage thing pop up. Like, it's not even like, hey, you're doing a normal damage of 30, so we're gonna throw a 60 in there. No, you just see 30-30. Like you don't even see it. You don't realize it's there. But now you do more damage to a larger area. So 3 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Now for the bottom path, I didn't realize how good this path actually is. This one is the Year of the Dragon. All right, this adds damage, it lasts longer, and increases your armor. So that is fantastic. It finally makes this thing like viable and usable. Next up, we have the Dragon Candles. Now you get to shoot colorful explosions everywhere. And this one's great. It finally adds a consistent damage to the dragon move. It makes it very useful. Next up, we have the Dance of the Dragons. You get to hold this to start, obviously, the Dragon Parade. And then you release it to shoot explosive... Oh, you shoot the... Oh my god, I can't read. You shoot the dragon now. So you could just press it once, and then your dragon goes like slithering across the ground, knocking people back, doing fun stuff like that. So that one was a 5 out of 5. So now we have Start the Show for the bottom. This one is a 4 out of 5. It's effective, but it's low damage, and you can only use it 3 times, and you're lucky to get it to hit 3 times. Next we got Show Off. This one's a 5 out of 5. Now you get shoot 3 good damaging projectiles after your Start the Show ability. Now, cracking up here. This one's a 4 out of 5. I have mixed feelings about it. It's really cool that you can do an attack while just jumping. Like, you're not even doing anything. You just press the jump button and you're attacking. But it's literally right below you. So it gets a 4 out of 5 because it's really creative and really cool and useful when there's, like, chompies around. But other than that, it ain't gonna do much for you. Now we got the big one. This one does huge damage, but it's a very long wait. And a pretty long charge, too, that leaves you a little bit vulnerable. Now we have Unstable Element. This one increases your speed depending on how close the big one is. It's a 2 out of 5 for me. It just makes you go really fast for like 2 seconds, and there's no point because it doesn't really help you at all. Because you want to stay close to enemies. Why would you want to be running around them? I don't know. I don't understand that. But next up, we have the Sizzling Sparkler, which makes all your spin attacks do increased damage. So that's a 5 out of 5. Now we have the bottom path. This is the Big Bad Boom. This one's a 4 out of 5. Your bounce attack does increase damage to a larger area. Fantastic. Next up, we have Strike the Foes. Alright, this one's a 4 out of 5. Lighting the fuse to the big one causes a knockback. too close enemies, they've got to be real close. But it's like a safety net so you can use your big attack. So it's useful, but limited. Lastly, for a soul gem, you get 5 out of 5. You get a huge colorful explosion that does increase damage to a larger radius. So that's just fantastic. Anytime you can do more damage to a larger group of enemies, 5 out of 5. Leaving Firecracken with a final score of 75 out of 90.
Brace for impact.
Now we do have Rubble Rouser, one of my least favorite, but that's not what this is about. This is best to worst, so we're gonna get into his moves here.
Solid.
Not just his moves, his abilities, the upgrades, how that ability acts at that time of getting the upgrade. With no further upgrades, that is how this is done. So first off, we have the hammer swing. This is probably the most damaging main attack, but it is so slow, it drives me bonkers, and I cannot stand it. So 3 out of 5, it does fantastic damage, like best damage ever, but it's just super slow, and I think everybody can agree that it's super slow. Next we have Tools of the Trade. This one is the 3 out of 5. It does great damage, but there's a small pause in between uses, and only hits enemies really close by, so there's your -2 right there. Okay, Happy Hammering, 5 out of 5. You get to increase your damage. Drill Head, you get to drill into the ground causing an earthquake, but this one is the 3 out of 5. It does great damage for around 5 seconds, but leaves you super vulnerable, especially from the backside. Now, top upgrade path. Nailed it. 3 out of 5. Nailed it, 3 out of 5. You were expecting a 5 out of 5, weren't you? Good damage, but a slow charge, and leaves you hammerless. Literally hammerless. You're better off using your main combo. And then next one, you add damage when you throw it. So, I mean, 5 out of 5 and a 3 out of 5. You do good damage, but you lose your hammer. That's like Thor without Mjolnir. Anyways, bottom path. Rock Shards. 4 out of 5. This affects a large area, but you're still super vulnerable. Luckily, he does shoot a couple backwards, so it does protect you a little bit, but it doesn't knock him back. So 4 out of 5, and then add damage, so 5 out of 5. Now his obsidian skin, armor increase, I cannot stand the look of it. I don't like it. I liked his gray, but then they changed him to like this obsidian color, apparently. I don't even know what obsidian is, but you increase your armor, 5 out of 5. So for the bottom here, we have Deep Dig, which is a 4 out of 5. You do good damage, you get to pop up underneath enemies. It's kind of like a short evade. It's like a okay version of Hoot Loops, which is already not that great. Hot take, but anyways, we have the Minor Miners. This one's a 3 out of 5. You only get 2 of these little fellers, and they do such low damage that they could take out a Chompy maybe, if you're lucky. Earthy Fortitude. Now you get more health, so 5 out of 5 without a doubt. Now we have Tunnel Expedition. 4 out of 5. This one is great for avoiding attacks, but only a slight increase of damage. So 4 out of 5. Top upgrade, Boulder Toss. This one is a 5 out of 5. You literally get to attack without even being able to be attacked. So 5 out of 5, this is fantastic. Now we have So Bold, you add damage, so you're doing this move even better. So 5 out of 5, if I could give it a 6 out of 5, I totally would. But that's not how this works. Alright, Minor Craft. 2 out of 5. This can be useful, but you need to dig each individual little man up out of the ground. And they still don't do a ton of damage. And they still don't do a ton of damage when you put this on, but since it is an increased damage upgrade, I do give it a 5 out of 5. So 2 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Soul Gem now. Pop Rock. This is a 4 out of 5. It's a huge boulder, but I feel it should do more damage. It does like the same damage as his main attack. So it's not very impressive, but it's very fun to see. But for damage, it's okay. Like still does very good damage. But I feel like for how big of this boulder is, it should do more damage. So it does get a 4 out of 5, but it's very useful. Leaving Rubble Rouser with a final score of actually impressed me, 73 out of 90.
Legs and
Now we have Washbuckler, one of the most iconic Skylanders, I think, of all time. Swap Force was the best selling game, and he was the starter pack Skylander, so I feel like every kid in 2013 to 2015 had this guy. So first up, we have the Sword Slash. This is an average speed attack. I wish it was a little bit faster, but it does good damage, so I can't really complain too much. It's just not very fast, but 4 out of 5 for him. Bubble Blaster here. 4 out of 5. It's good for strategy, but has a little recharge. Not a lot, but a little. Enough to interrupt the attack. Now we have Blade Sail. This one's a 5 out of 5. It adds your damage to sword attacks. Then you also get to hold it to charge a sword attack. So you get like a 2 for 1 right there. 5 out of 5. Now you have Dangerous Waters. Now you shoot your bubbles and they have piranhas in them. So they bite. So that's a 5 out of 5. It's very useful. It's low damage, but it lasts a little while. Now for the top path, you have the Parley Popper. This one's a 3 out of 5, honestly. I rarely use this one. It's a one-hit shield. It's meh. That's how I would describe it. But now we add damage to our sword attacks. That is why we go this path right here. It's because it adds damage to our sword attacks. So that's a 5 out of 5. This one's a 3 out of 5. Now let's see how the bottom path is. Now we got Marooned. This one adds damage for bubbles, and you get a charged bubble. So another 2 for 1 upgrade here. Fantastic. 5 out of 5. And now we get Captain of Piranha Bay. Now piranhas do increased damage. Increased damage. That's literally it. 5 out of 5. Now for a Soul Gem here. How many people actually just casually use this in their gameplay? Like, if you're in a lock, you ain't messing around causing this thing. You are swiping with your main attack and getting the heck out of there. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. It does huge damage. Amazing damage. Don't get me wrong. It's like Night Shift's giant punch. It might actually do more. But the charge rate is so long, and it slows down your movement speed. That's what I cannot stand. So for his bottom, we have Summer Salty. This one's a 5 out of 5. It's a quick evade, it does good damage, and it's a decent speed move, to be honest. People don't think of it as a speed move, but it's actually a pretty good one. Now with the Octo Slash. This is a move I don't use and don't like. This one's a 2 out of 5 for me. It does good damage, but it's so slow in between hits. It bothers me so much. It's literally like swipe, couple seconds, swipe. It's just, it kills me. Now we have Deep Skin, increases your health, so 5 out of 5. Next up we have Inkjet. Now this is the same attack, it just adds a little bit of range, so nothing really new other than that. So you get a 3 out of 5, you get some range. Now for the top, you get 10 Cleaver, sure. Now you can slap enemies repeatedly. So this is a 5 out of 5. Finally, you get another close range attack, which I know he doesn't need when he has a sword attack, but it is a 5 out of 5. If you wanted to use it instead of your sword attack, all the power to you. It's going to do just as good. And then do increased damage as well. So both 5 out of 5s up here. Now, Ink Trail. This one is a 4 out of 5. The Ink Trail slows enemies, but does not cover a wide area. It only covers literally directly behind you. So let's go over here, and your ink attacks do increase damage. So that's it. 5 out of 5. Now for a Soul Gem, I cannot stand this. This is the worst Soul Gem in this game. This thing drives me nuts, and I know a lot of people use it, and they're like, oh my god, it's the Chompy Killer. It is. But listen, I am a man of speed. It is good for a group of small enemies, don't get me wrong. But overall, it ruins his speed move. Like, if you want to just tap that speed move, and you just keep somersaulting, you can travel pretty fast. But you try that once you get this upgrade, ruins it. Ruins it completely, because then you start spinning super slow, just taking out all your movement speed. So, instead, it's just so disappointing to me. Leaving him with a final score of almost 10 points lower than his starter pack's little buddy of Blast Zone. He gets a 76 out of 90, which is still good, but not fantastic.
Blast and Furious!
Now we have Blast Zone. A very cool starter pack
I
Skylander.
am on a hot streak.
But let's see how good his upgrades actually are. So, His bomb throw. 4 out of 5. It does good damage, but it does lack accuracy. It gets better with the further upgrades, but as of this upgrade, it's good, but inaccurate. Next we have Flame Breath. This one's a 4 out of 5. It does low damage, but it's a very good shield and good for small enemies, like protecting you a little bit. Now we have Power Bombs. This one's a 5 out of 5. It adds some damage. Sticky Bomb. This one's interesting. It's 3 out of 5. It does good damage, but it's pointless when you can use your normal bombs over and over for more damage within that time that you have to charge it and throw it, and then it explodes. You could just do more damage with your normal bombs. But for the upgrade path for the top, we have Flaming Bombs, which is a 5 out of 5. It's very easy to create, and bombs do more damage, so yay. Now we got Fired Up, which 5 out of 5 increases your damage. Next up, we have the bottom upgrade path for the Ring of Fire. Shout out to Johnny Cash. 5 out of 5. Big explosion that does good damage with a great knockback. Literally, it sends them across the map. It's fantastic. Now you just do more damage, so both 5 out of 5s here. And this is where I was talking about the accuracy thing comes in. This one's a 5 out of 5. You do 2 bombs instead of 1, covering a larger area, and technically you do double damage to any enemies that can hit twice. So that's fantastic. So let's go on to his bottom. So far as his top half did pretty well. So his bottom, I'm going to be honest, I think it's one of the best bottoms in the game. And I'm about to show you why. His Rocket Dash. It is great for speed, great for evading and damaging enemies. It is great, and it hasn't even been upgraded yet. Now we have Ready for Blast Off. This one is a 4 out of 5. There's a long load time, but it does great damage. Then we move on to Armor Plating. Your armor is increased, so 5 out of 5. Next, you get to Dash Forever. I love this. It is fantastic for speed running, especially with his ranged ability. It makes him great for speed running. Now for his upgrade path, we have the Heat Wave ability, which is a 5 out of 5. It does great damage and can be used whenever. It can be used over and over. It sends out like a projectile that does it pushes them back. It's not a knockback, but it pushes them back for good damage. So we got a 5 out of 5 here and a 5 out of 5 here for more damage. Next up, we move to the bottom. Now this one's also a 5 out of 5. Both upgrade paths are amazing. That's why I have one, I have my dark version on one path, and then I have this version on the other, because it's just so good. I enjoy them. Now you get a shield. This one's 5 out of 5. It's the perfect shield, and it does good damage. Now you got Too Hot to Handle. An even more powerful shield pops up now. 5 out of 5. Now you get Hot Feet here. It just makes your speed move even better. Now you leave behind a trail of fire everywhere you go that does actually surprisingly really good damage. So that's a 5 out of 5, leaving Blast Zone with a very, very impressive, and it's going to be hard to beat score of 85 out of 90.
Whip up a storm.
Now we have Free Ranger.
Looks like chicken scratch to me.
Used to be, and might still be, you'll see at the end, my favorite swapper ever. I grew up with Legendary Free Ranger and used him forever. I loved him. So let's see how his upgrades actually are one by one. So his Stormblade Slash, it is quick strikes with great damage, but it's very limited range. That's what kind of kills it, but it is good if you're really close to enemies. Next up, we have Eyes of the Storm. Now you shoot this lightning bolt. I know people don't like it. For some reason, they're like, oh, it's a single hit, whatever. But whatever. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. It's very useful if you just use it correctly. It does okay damage, but it shocks almost anyone, even large enemies. It's fantastic. Even ones that bring down the shield in front of them, the ones in the snowy levels, just not golems. It'll damage golems, but not electrocute them. But literally everybody else other than a golem, I think it can stun. Next up, we have Charged Blades. Just adds more damage, so that's 5 out of 5. Now this one right here, 5 out of 5. This is the Gale Slash. This sends out a giant wave of air at the end of your combo, so every 3 swipes, it'll send this forwards. It's very large, covers a decent amount of area, and goes far, so it's pretty good. Next up, top path, we have Slicing Storm. This one's a 2 out of 5, I'm gonna be honest. I do not like this charge move. It's a long charge time, leaves you vulnerable, you can't move, but it does good damage, so that's the only thing that scores it 2 out of 5, because it does good damage, but you're left so vulnerable you can't move, and the only way to get out of it while doing it is jump. Now we have Feathered Fury. You just do some increased damage, so 5 out of 5 here. For the bottom path, we have Lightning Strikes Thrice. Now you hold this to charge pretty much a giant Eye of the Storm, Lightning Bolt. It's a 2 out of 5. It's a long charge time. It does good damage, not great, less than it should. It shocks enemies, but you're better off just using your normal lightning, to be honest. Like, you could shock every enemy within 5 seconds, or charge this for 5 seconds and maybe hit 3 of them. And then you add some damage here. So 2 out of 5, 5 out of 5. But for a soul gem here, we are going to give him a 5 out of 5. It increases your blade's damage and adds your shock damage as well. So kind of disappointed that one of my favorite Skylanders did not so great. Alright, Ride Like the Wind. This one's a 2 out of 5. It does low damage and it's really slow. It gets much better with further upgrades. But as of right now, it sucks. Now we got Approaching Storm. This one's a 5 out of 5. Finally increase your speed while inside the tornado. Now we have Wind Powered. Your tornado lasts longer, so that's a 4 out of 5. But it still doesn't do a whole bunch other than travel faster. Alright, here's where things start to get good. 5 out of 5 here. You get to pull in and throw enemies wherever you want. It is fantastic. I have a blast with this move. I think it's probably why his bottom is probably the best bottom to use. But he does have disappointing upgrades, like upgrade paths. So for his top path, he does have the Lightning Nova, which is a 4 out of 5. It does 1 good damage bolt when you turn into the tornado, but that's it. It's just for enemies that are really close by. And then you get to add damage. So that's a 5 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5. Next you have Wild Tornado. This one's a 4 out of 5. It's small, good damage tornado projectile that leaves you to forget it kind of exists, because it just kind of shows up and then leaves really quick. But it's a 4 out of 5. It's useful, but it's... how do I explain this? When you go into a tornado, you have to be in it for a certain amount of time before you can get out. So you can maybe shoot one of these like every 3 seconds, 4 seconds. I don't know if you're lucky. I don't know. But here you add damage, so that's a 5 out of 5. And then here, you become a tornado filled with lightning, so this is a 5 out of 5. This is the move that I love so much. You can get rid of his top half, put Spyrice's top half on him, and put Free Ranger's top bottom, put his bottom, and you have a perfect Skylander. So this destroys all small enemies, along with spinning them around, throw them off the map, whatever you want to do. This move right here, I wish I could give it a 15 out of 5, but it is a solid 5 out of 5, leaving Free Ranger with a final score of a 78 out of 90.
Let's ruffle some feathers.
Time for Hoot Loop, who I used to despise and just hate. But now that I've looked into his moves, I'm actually a little impressed, and I actually found some fun in him. But first off, you got Deja Boom. This one's a 3 out of 5. It's very weak for a main attack. It's low damage and shoots slow, so it's nothing impressive here. Then you got Hypnotism. You get to hypnotize enemies, 3 out of 5. It's useful to slow enemies, but does really slow, low damage. So it's really not meant for damage, even though it does damage. I don't know. But it's useful to like an enemy at a time. And then you get Armor Increase, so this one is a 5 out of 5. Then you get Flashback here. This one's interesting. You get 3 out of 5. Your main attack now explodes on the 3rd bounce for small damage. It bounces 3 times to do smaller damage. Doesn't make sense, but it does technically more damage than what you were doing, so I do have to give it credit for that. Now we have the Dream Beam for the top half. This one's a 4 out of 5. It's great repetitive damage, but it slows down your movement speed. But I tell you what, imagine Prison Break's laser lasting forever and being able to move it quickly. That's what it is. So if I always go back to Prison Break and how bad he is, but this is how Prison Break's move should have been. Look at the Dream Beam, see it used, and that's how fast Prison Break's beam should have moved. So 4 out of 5 here, and then it does more damage, so 5 out of 5. So now we got the Mass Hypnosis. We get a 4 out of 5 for this one. It becomes more effective, meaning you can do it on more enemies and larger enemies, so you can actually use it on medium-sized enemies. It's pretty much the same attack, though. It just affects a larger area. Now we have the Deep Asleep. This one's 5 out of 5. It increases the damage done. Then we have the Wand of Dreams. This one's a 5 out of 5 for me. This is what makes me love his main attack. It is now his main attack now has literally everything. It shoots, it explodes, it has smaller things that come off of it. It's perfect. You shoot like the little 3 projectiles at once now. So that's great. Now we'll move to the bottom half here. I don't like this, but it is useful. It's the loop. It's a 3 out of 5. It's good for evade, not for speed. You do come to a stop, which kind of stinks. And you do decent damage when you're underneath enemies. Now we have the Portable Hole. 4 out of 5 now. You can just aim it. So I guess it's useful. I just don't use it. But it overall, as an upgrade, it's good. So 4 out of 5. Now we do some more damage. So 5 out of 5 here. Now we have Time Stick. This one is a 5 out of 5. Enemies are pulled towards the portals for a definite hit. So literally it'll hit them if they even come near it. So that's great. So 5 out of 5. It's like a little mine if you want to think of it that way. Now you have Now You See Me. Now charge portals for big damage, but you're left vulnerable when you exit still. So if you don't take out the enemies upon initial explosion, you might want to get out as fast as possible because you are left vulnerable. You just kind of stand there for a second and you just kind of pop up in the air. So 4 out of 5. Next, you do increase damage. That's a 5 out of 5. Now you got Now You Don't. Get it? Now You See Me. Now You Don't. All right. This one's a 2 out of 5. It just does the same thing. It does the same thing as creating another portal. I don't get the point. You travel a little bit faster if you want to move backwards to the other portal that you came from. But overall, you could just create another portal and move again. So I don't see a whole bunch of use in this or why it's its own ability in an upgrade path. Now you do increase damage to all teleport attacks. That's the only bonus of going this path. If you really like the teleport, definitely go this path. Now we got the Soul Gem here. This is a 5 out of 5. I never had this ability. I didn't until I started making this video and going through and looking through everybody's abilities. And I was like, damn, I don't have this, but I have enough gold for it. So I bought it, and holy cow, I love it. It explodes the whole screen. It does about 35 damage to everyone, but it does 35 damage to everyone. So that is fantastic for me. So 5 out of 5, leaving him with an impressive score for me, 75 out of 90.
Another smash hit.
Now we have the Skylander that has literally the community divided on whether he's fantastic or he's horrible. I am on the horrible to mid side.
I'm no blockhead.
All right, so let's actually see why, and let's see. So his Column Club is a 4 out of 5. It's average attack speed. It's a lot like Washbuckler's. It has decent range for like a close range attack, surprisingly, and it does good damage. So I compare it to Washbuckler's main attack. So now we have the Living Statue. This one's a 4 out of 5. You get to block only close attacks and turn them to Jade. So it's actually pretty useful, but it's only close attacks. But surprise, surprise, now you can block projectiles. So this is a 5 out of 5 upgrade right here. Really impacts the gameplay. You get to reflect all projectiles and attacks at the enemies that they came from, and when they hit, turns them to Jade as well. Now, I hate this move. The Column Duty. You charge your main attack. It's the slowest charge in the world for a disappointing damage, to be honest. You charge it all the way, and you maybe do, I think, 75 damage or 85 damage around there. Unless you crit, it's not worth it. So it is just a 2 out of 5 for me. Now we go to the top. Oh, what could make the last move worse? Oh, having it. Oh wait, no, that's this one. Anyways, now it just breaks off into little pieces. So it does more to a larger area. So it's a 5 out of 5. So here you charge it even longer, leaving you vulnerable for even more time. So this is a 1 out of 5. Now for the bottom path, we got cracking up here. This one's a 4 out of 5. The Jade enemies kind of burst, damaging the other ones, but it's not for very much. So it's a 4 out of 5. But now you get to block attacks and do even more damage. So 5 out of 5. Then you go here. The Stony Snare. This one for me is disappointing. I honestly thought it would do more. The shield now attacks, but it's for low damage. It does extend quite a bit, but it's just not for very much damage. Now we have the Stony Spin for the bottom half. This one's a 3 out of 5. It's good for small enemies, but overall it is slow with weak damage. And it just gets worse. Spin right around. You get to hold this stupid thing. 2 out of 5 here. It does good damage when you can actually hit someone with it. Charging it takes longer than how long it actually lasts, so it's not worth it. Now we got the Revolutionary Belt. You do increase damage, so that is a 5 out of 5. Then here you have the Speedy Spinner. This one's a 2 out of 5. It has no impact at all. It says there's a speed increase, but you never honestly see it. It doesn't last long enough. Top path here, you have the Harder They Fall. Now you have a 2 out of 5. It remains the same for me. It pops the last enemy you hit up, and when they land, it does okay damage to a very small area. Then you do some increased damage here. 5 out of 5, 2 out of 5. Then you have Jaded Spin. This one, not any better. Shoot very low damage projectiles while spinning. Me, when I upgraded this, thinking that, oh, while I spin, it's going to shoot a bunch, like all around. No, one single little projectile at a time. You're lucky to get 4 out while you're spinning the entire time. So next one, I mean, I hate giving this a 5 out of 5, but it is because it just increases damage. But so 2 out of 5 for both upgrade paths. But so now for his bottom soul gem. This one's a 3 out of 5. It's still low damage, just to a larger area. The damage of this spin move is so disappointing to me. And it looks like it's glitching the game when it spins. Like, it doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right, and clearly it isn't right because it doesn't do enough damage, leaving Doomstone with a final score of a disappointing 62 out of 90.
Go ahead. Snake my day.
Now we have Rattleshake. I really like Rattleshake, and I think a lot of people do too. I know some people think he's overrated, but let's take a look at how good his upgrades actually are.
Look good.
Do you? I don't know, with that purple skin, you look a little rough. Anyways, his top path, 5 out of 5. It's a quick, good damaging main attack, and it's got a lot of range, so this is a 5 out of 5. Next up, you got Deputy Snake, our favorite little fella here. You throw him out. He actually does damage when you hit people with him. Did not know that. It does like 50 damage. You just throw him at someone, and he headbutts them. And then he starts spitting out his venom that slows enemies. So that's a 5 out of 5 as well. Then you got Fistful of Snakes. Your venom projectiles do more damage. So 5 out of 5. And then you got Spring-Loaded Snake here. Also a 5 out of 5. We're off to a great start. This is a short load time. It damages at least 3 enemies. It just does great damage. Now for his top upgrade path, we stop our 5 out of 5 streak here. It is a 4 out of 5. It is just a small explosion that does good damage, but it's a small explosion where the snake lands. And now the radius and the damage are increased, so 5 out of 5 here. Then we move down to the bottom path for the Snake Bite. This one is a 3 out of 5, honestly. I was really disappointed by this. It does low damage, only for a few seconds. I thought it was way better. When you use it in your gameplay, it seems to have more of an effect, but when you look at the upgrade itself, it really doesn't add a whole bunch. It's maybe a little bit, like maybe 15 more damage taken to the enemies, but that's about it. Other than that, here, add some damage. So that's 5 out of 5, 3 out of 5. So when I get the quick draw version, I'll probably go to the top and switch it back. All right, now we got Raise the Snakes. This one's a 5 out of 5. You get a shield, and your critical hit gets increased, and the shield regenerates automatically, so that's awesome. All right, now for the bottom half, we're starting off real low. All right, as this ability is right here, if you have no further upgrades, it sucks. It's a 2 out of 5. It's a very limited range, but it does decent damage, but you have to be so close to enemies, it's not even funny. Now you get to shoot. Now the ability becomes useful. And now you shoot a bone projectile that does good damage. So this one's a 4 out of 5. Now on brand here is a tricky move. It's another one of those jump moves. It's like Firekraken's move, but it's a little bit more effective. Now you get to knock back instead of just damaging. So it does get a 3 out of 5 for me. It's nice to have an attack that's just purely jumping. It's great for damage control in groups of enemies. Knocks them back doing just low damage, but it's more so a crowd control move. Now you got Stampede. Yes, I said that correctly. Shoot 3 instead of 1 of the bone projectiles, so that's a 5 out of 5. Now for the upgrade path on the top, you get the Goliath Bone Snake. This one's a 4 out of 5 for me, honestly. It's very close range, which loses at a point, but it's very short charge time and does great damage. And it really makes up for the charge time here with the next upgrade. So this one's a 5 out of 5. You shoot up to 7 bone snakes at once. It's pretty impressive. And people don't know that you don't have to charge it until like, or you can keep charging it past like when the thing flickers underneath. That doesn't mean release it then. You can keep going and create up to 7 of these guys to pop out. It's fantastic. All right, so for the bottom, we have Spurred Spring. I was very impressed by this move right here. This is great for evading attacks and honestly damaging enemies and your speed. So it's very useful. And now 5 out of 5 as well because you do more damage when you land because you get these tombstones to appear. Now for his other half of his soul gem, we have the Snake Skinned Kid. Get a new skin that increases speed and absorbs damage, literally giving you a shield. So you're fully protected no matter what, top, bottom, and you get a speed increase. So that leaves Rattleshake with an impressive score, leaving him at towards the top. I'd say top 5, I think. I don't know yet, but 80 out of 90 score.
Bombs away.
So now we have our last Skylander of
Firing
today,
on all cylinders.
our last swapper to take a deep dive look at. First up, we have the Football Bomb. This one's a 4 out of 5. It has very average speed. You can't throw it super fast, but it can be super inaccurate as well, but it does great damage. It's one of the best damaging main attacks. It's a 4 out of 5. But next is my favorite move of his. It's the Airstrike. It clears the entire screen. It's great for damage and knockback. There's a slow recharge, but it doesn't really matter because by the time the enemies get back up, if they get back up, you could just use it again and demolish the entire screen again. Now you have Tight Spiral, which is another 5 out of 5. You get a damage boost to your football bombs. And now you have this Go Long ability. This one I used to like. I thought it was great. And then I looked at the damage stats and actually compared it to the main attack. And it actually does disappointing damage, but it does cause a knockback. The knockback is useful. Obviously, Explosion causes a knockback. But it's honestly disappointing damage for the charge rate that it has and the size of the bomb. I mean, like it's the equivalent of how disappointing the Rubble rouser giant boulder is. So for the top path, I was impressed by this. Honestly, the Storm Bomb is impressive. When you charge the Go Long Ball, now Storm appears. So this is a 4 out of 5. It now shocks the enemies around the impact of the bomb. And then you do increased damage. So that's a 5 out of 5 along with a 4 out of 5. So for the bottom path, which is my preferred path, Airstrike now drops bombs that do damage in a larger area. So increase the area. So do even more damage as well right here with this upgrade. So 10 out of 10 for the bottom here combined. And the supply drop. This is a 4 out of 5. Just because of the rarity of which it's used. Unless you have super low health, it's not coming down. It's near death. If it came down at half health, I would be happy. But it comes down like right before you die. And then you're stuck with like 100 health instead of like 2. But overall, it's super cool. I mean, it's cool to get a supply drop, though. So I do give it a 4 out of 5. It's just the timing in which it comes down is kind of inconvenient. So for the bottom half, we have the wind turbine. This one's a 3 out of 5. Great for crowd control, again, but not great for damage. Moving on to the Mach 1. You can press your circle button or whatever it is, B, I don't know, Xbox, to dash forward. So this is an amazing dash move. Love it. Probably the best. And it's very, very good in Trap Team. If you want to speedrun Trap Team, use him. Next we have your speed increased with your Ace Pilot move. That's a 5 out of 5. And then we have Turbulence here. I gave this one a 2 out of 5. It's only 3 projectiles that do very average to low damage. And that's it. They're just not impressive. Not worth the upgrade in my opinion. If it would have shot like something else out, like continuous fan blades, or the wind just did damage, better damage, I don't know, but definitely could have been more useful than what it is. All right, for the top half we have Skywriting. This one's a 4 out of 5 for me. It's great for large amounts of enemies, but not for a single enemy. Like it's okay over time, but if you're trying to take out that one last guy, don't worry about it. It's 4 out of 5, and then you get to add damage and to stay longer as well. So 5 out of 5. Now, this is one of my favorite paths out of any of the swappers. The gunship. Now, you get to shoot missiles, and you get 8 rounds. Yes, I counted them. 8 rounds, which is 16 missiles that do great damage, that are like heat-seeking missiles, so they won't miss. They do tend to die out a little early. They don't have the extended range, but if you're close enough, they'll do massive damage, and then you do more damage. So 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, and then you have Mach 2 here, where your speed is increased, and a large blast damages enemies at the beginning of your dash, so that's fantastic, leaving him with a 5 out of 5 right there, and a final score of a 79, almost hitting 80, but 79 out of 90. Okay. Now that we are done taking a deep dive into each swapper's upgrades, it is now time to see the results and compare them to my own personal list. So at number 12, yes, I said number 12 out of 16 swapper Skylanders because we had some ties. So at number 12 with a score of 62, which is 9 points lower than the next person, we have Doomstone. At number 11, we have Gorilla Drilla with a score of 71. At number 10, we have Rubble Rouser with a score of 73. At number 9, we have Trap Shadow with a score of 74. And with a score of 75, we have a tie in 8th place for Firecracken and Hoot Loop. At number 7, we have a 3-way tie with a score of 76 between Night Shift, Stink Bomb, and Washbuckler. At number 6, we have Spyrise with a score of 77, someone who I thought would be much higher on the list. At number 5, we have Free Ranger with a score of 78. At number 4, we have Boomjet with a score of 79, almost to 80. Could have almost had it. At number 3, we have Rattleshake at 80 points. And a 2-way tie at the 2nd place spot, Magna Charge and Freeze Blade with a score of 81. And for the number 1 spot, 85, Blast Zone. Alright, now's the time that I'm going to compare my personal list that goes from least favorite swappers to most favorite to this new ranking style. So at number 16 we have Gorilla Drilla, 15 Trap Shadow, 14 Rubble Rouser, 13 Doomstone, 12 Firecracken, 11 Hoot Loop, 10 Washbuckler, 9 Magna Charge, 8 Night Shift, 7 Stink Bomb, 6 Blast Zone, 5 Rattleshake, 4 Boomjet, 3 Spyrise, 2 Freeze Blade, and 1 Free Ranger. So that does conclude it for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Let me know how you guys feel about this new style of ranking video. If you want me to do more, let me know your guys' thoughts on how I judged the abilities, if I judged them well. Tell me how I could maybe use the abilities better. I don't know, just let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Other than that, just always be respectful. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and obviously here, so subscribe to here if you haven't already. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys soon.